Hello, I'm Phoebe, or Ingrid in the SCA, and when I was at Estrella, I had a couple of folks come up and ask me if I could give them a demo on how to put on veils. At that time, I had recommended or offered to like FaceTime or Skype with people to help them, but now that we're all stuck in our houses, I thought that I could just record this so people could watch it, maybe make a new veil or try out a new persona or anything else that's interesting. But if you have been wondering how to do the various headdresses that I often wear, I'm going to do this in 1 or 2 videos. So the first one I'm going to show you is just a very simple headdress. You're going to see this in multiple regions and multiple periods. Everything I do is focused for 10th to 12th century Kiev and Rus. That doesn't actually mean that they're the only ones that wore veils like this. You will find sources that have illustrations and they look very similar across the board. A lot of resources are out there for material and accessories in the burial dress of the Rus and of the Rus in the Upper Volga region, late 10th to 13th centuries, by Yulia Stepanova, actually has several grave finds. She does a great job of drawing you each grave. And in them, in a few of them, she actually has the materials and veil information, which I was really excited about reading in this book. We don't have a lot of information to base our veils on because veils are a thin material and they will decompose quickly. Also, people weren't into selfies, so we're kind of going off illustrations. Things we have illustrations for, or like just art in general. I say illustration, but it can be mosaics, it can be metal, it can be paintings. There's a ton of different artists and artistry that depict what people were wearing. This one, which is from Georgian Metalwork, From Antiquity to the 18th Century by Shava Amirnashvili. I'm never going to try saying that again. The back I really, really like. It gives a very good look at a veil. So you'll notice that she's got a horizontal line here and it looks distinctly like a band. They made it look like the veil was actually tucked into this band, and then as you see the way that it's rippling, it's very likely that she pinned this right there, because when you stick a pin into a veil, you can often make this exact silhouette. So this is a really great image to give us an idea of what the veils could look like. What I've always had a problem with for a long time, I had my friend Maggie taught me how to do the first few headdresses that I'd learned, and it always was hard because I would look at these pictures and I would think, I don't feel like what I'm wearing looks like that. Am I doing this wrong, or is there something I'm doing that is inaccurate, or perhaps I'm misinterpreting something? And then I was talking to Rothgar, and we were joking about my clothes, and I said something of, you know what, I'm gonna draw you a picture. And I drew an illustration, something like that, of my veils, and I realized, oh, that does look a lot like those other the pictures that I've been working off of. I guess it's just really hard to illustrate a veil. So that's where I'm going with from now on. So the first one I'm going to show you is the most simple, basic, can be used across the board. I am not going to wear my hair in the traditional way. In a lot of Rus and Slavic burials, they found women who had two plaits in their hair, and they would actually wrap them, you know, very a la Heidi, and they would use those to pin and attach the veil. Now, I have an enormous head, and I have enormous hair, and so the idea of making it even bigger isn't exciting to me. So what I do when I'm getting ready for an SCA event, or if I'm changing into my garb, I will put my hair just here in the back. And right now it's kind of curly, but often I'll just twist it into a bun. I'm not worried about it right now. The first one I'm going to show you is the most simple. And the base layer that you will, well, you don't have to. I'm not telling you guys don't have to do any of this. But hair is slippery. My hair is not. My hair is very coarse and thick, so fabric doesn't move on it. My friend Cecilia, though, she has fine hair, and it's like an act of God to keep a veil on her head because it will slide. So the best defense against that is a coarse weave do-rag, basically. It doesn't have to be anything. I've got it as 2 layers. It doesn't need to be. It can be 1 layer. This is literally a scrap. I gave my do-rag that was this color to Countess Anna. I never made myself another one. So I use a scrap, and I have for probably 2 or 3 years, and it doesn't matter because nobody can see it. If I really cared, I would probably embroider myself a lovely hat, but I am kind of an airhead, as many of you who have probably tried to reach out to me about something, and I said, oh, let me get back to you, and then I don't. And what it is that I never turn my computer on at my house. So I get something at work, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't have access to that. I'll get it when I get home, and then I get home, I start cleaning or something. So this is what you start out. Rosie the Riveter. Woohoo! For the basic veil, we're just gonna tie something on her head. People are always asking me length and width. It doesn't matter. Because if you used mine and you had a small head, this would not be great for you. I have a big head, so I have big veils. I generally hold the fabric to about my wingspan, and I hold it on my noggin and say, can I tuck this under? Oh, look, I can. Perfect. For this one, I'm going to make it even. Put it on my head. Totally even. I'm going to figure out where I want that because it's all personal preference. You can decide how much if you want your contrasting color to show. If you don't want it to show at all, you can literally just do that. I generally have to use a contrasting color because I am fair-skinned and blonde. No, strawberry. You will notice that if you wear women's Rus headdresses and such, and you're not wearing any makeup, your eyes might disappear. And it's an unfortunate truth. So keep that in mind when you're planning this. I often try to combat that by using contrasting colors so that my eyes are still visible, and also I put eyeliner and stuff on just to make it so that I have an expression. So that is not something you have to do, just if you are like me and you're like, I don't look pretty, that's the quickest way to make you like your Rus outfit. So there's a tons of different ways to do this. You could actually do this and you could take it and you could put it in the back. Boom. I don't like that look. Or you could do what I'm going to do, which is I'm going to tie this in a knot. Hooray! Whoop. And boom. Look. Can you see me? I don't know. I'm beautiful. But that's not really the look most of us are going for. I mean, flying nun or whatever's happening here. So what I like to do is I like to make it pretty. So I'm going to wrap it just like it was a bun. And all you do is you get it in a spiral and then you twist it around itself like you're doing your hair. You'll notice I have fringe on a lot of my veils, and I like it. It gives a little bit of character if I'm going to do something that has the ends showing, because I can use it to, you know, frame my face or accent whatever outfit I'm wearing. But for this particular one, I'm not worried about it because this isn't anything that I'm trying to do showy. This is my, I'm gonna go do laundry in a creek hair. Boom. Keeps your head dry, keeps your head from getting gross, and everything's groovy. So let's say that I am in a Slavic tribe. I don't know what I have out. Who am I today? We're gonna go with these. This is later century, or later period, probably closer to 12th, these are 12th century. And I believe they were found outside of Kiev. I know that I have these molds in a book, which is really cool to see how they made them. Anyway, so for this, you'll just come on here and you want to kind of even it out. And then just tuck that bad boy in there. Yeah. Boom! I got me a hat. And now I'm fancy and I'm pretty. Yay! You'll notice that this often gives you angry Russian face, which I believe is attractive. Everybody's always like this. And I've caught myself in photos when it has slipped down and it will literally do that. Now, you can totally wear it like that if you want to, but try and get it a little bit higher up because it's gonna just, what you're doing with this is framing your face. So the whole point is not to do it the way everybody else does it. The whole point is to do it so that you look pretty. So here I am. I'm in my best middle class, although this is really, I mean, there's pearls all over this and it's silk. This would be very expensive, but it was what was on top of my jewelry box. One of the most fun parts about this era and location for me is I have found evidence of base metal, of people like gold dipping or gold plating base metal temple rings so that they looked rich, but they couldn't actually afford it. And so that made me feel better because I don't have the money to spend on a Ferrari of clothing. So anytime I feel justified in using the metals that I can afford makes me really happy. So this would be a normal, perfectly acceptable, fancy for a town fancy outfit. Let's say I live in the city though, and I would like to go to a party. I'm gonna go to my party, but there's a guy I really like there, and I'm gonna catch his attention. So I'm gonna actually put my stuff on just like I did, because you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I got my hair wrapped up, everything's covered. It's framing my face, and I'm gonna get out a veil. Hooray! I've got a veil. This one's linen. Linen has a great drape. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry. Especially with veils, because with this style of veil, you actually want a almost crunchier veil because you want the volume. Sometimes when people are wearing veils, they just want the flowy long veil. It's a totally different style. That is better for a silky falling fabric. If you are trying to get the face framing and cool thing, you might want something with a little bit firmer of a hand. The best veil I have is actually a silk linen blend, and it is amazing. It holds its shape beautifully. So I'm gonna go to a party in the city, and I want to look fancy. So I'm going to get out my beautifully dyed linen veil, and believe it or not, this color is actually available from Natural Dyes. And this veil is a little bit short for me. I just got it and I haven't worked with it much, so it was on top of my pile, and hopefully I can do this hairstyle with it. So when you're going to do this fancy one, and this is the one that most people ask me about, you start out with your veil uneven. So it's going to be a different length on each side. And that is for a reason. So you start out just kind of getting it here. If you're dealing with a really slick material, sometimes I do, I will cheat and I'll actually pin it in just from this point on both sides. to hold it where I want it while not stabbing myself in the head. Oh yeah, you will stab yourself in the head, so if you have a really sensitive noggin, this might not be the best thing for you. So they're not even, but that's okay because I'm actually going to take these out, which is the interesting part of all this. So this is just how, if I'm dealing with a fabric that isn't doing what I want it to, it'll keep it where I need it to be until I actually fasten it all down. So I've got my short end, I've got my long end. I'm going to wrap it around, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot on the tippy top of my head, right at the pointy part. And you want the short end pointing to the back. And then you tighten it up, and look, you're an elephant. So now you get your fancy temple rings. It doesn't really matter how you attach them. I have these pinned because I never finished this. My greatest problem is if I wear it, it's done. So if I wear it before it's done, I'm never going to finish it. It's a foible. I need to fix that. So you want to slide your elephant trunk through your temple rings and get your temple rings seated down here. And then you're going to flip it back. Now, once you've done that, this is never going to look good the first time you do it. Like, every time you put it on. So when you first put it on, it's not going to look right. The whole thing about this is you're going to frame your face, which means you're going to manipulate this veil into doing what you want, which is why I was talking about sometimes it's better to have a firm hand, because you actually want your peacock butt, as you see here. And what I like to do with this style is take the ends of my flap and I just tuck them back to give a little bit more depth. Sometimes it's the flying nun look, but like I said, this veil is a little shorter than I normally like it, because with this style I'd like to use a longer veil that has lots of layers. So, or I can do two of these because the short one can also flip up and then the long one flips up. So normally I like my flip a little lower, but this is totally fine. And you can, you could pin it back if you wanted to. You could untuck it if you wanted to. You can make this thing do whatever you want. If you want to bring it up and tuck it back here, which I think maybe I will, that also will help. So, poof, I've got fancy hair. Look at that. Don't I look fancy all of a sudden? Now I'm going to take these bad boys out because I don't need them in there anymore. And boomsies. I'm beautiful. I'm ready for my party. So I'm going to go to my party, and then my best friend Olga just told me the party's in the palace. I can't go to the palace like this. I'm not fancy enough. So you can actually make this headdress even fancier. So you've got your little thing, you got your peacock tail bun, you got your fluff, and then you can actually come in here, and I like to use a square veil. I'm always doing it wrong and not getting the middle. People don't notice. Don't drive yourself crazy. Unless you're Semiswell. Semiswell will notice and probably tell you, but we ignore her. So you can do all sorts of things with this. You could pin it behind your puff if you want it. I often pin it over my puff because I like that little lump thing going on there. So I like to get in here and figure out where I'm going to pin it. And then I get my handy dandy veil pins. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just has to be able to stick in there. And then I'm pin that on in there. You can pin it to your band if you want to. I often just weave it through the fabric in my hair. And now I'm striking. This is not a color combination I would normally wear. I know some people are really going to love it, so if you love this, wear it. They would totally dig the contrast between the teal and the red. So this is how you put on my fancy veils. It's super easy. and it looks glorious, and it's a really quick way to spruce up any outfit that you want to bling up, because the clothing is relatively the same style and cut. It's just how fancy it's gonna be in this area. So this is one way to stand out and look beautiful. So I hope that this helps with the people that had wanted to know how to do this hairstyle. If you have any other questions or specific things that you've been wondering about, I have a lot of free time. Once again, my name's Phoebe. It's PhoebeWelke on Facebook. And you can shoot me a message if there's something you want to know, and I will get back to you or send you the how-to. I am kind of an airhead though, so if I don't get back to you, remind me. It means that I forgot. So I hope you're all enjoying your social distancing, and I miss you all, and I cannot wait until this is all over and the SCA can start getting back together again.